To be food secure means to be empowered. A food secure nation is not to be held at the mercy of unforeseen events and international disasters. So said Paula Gopiskun, Minister of Trade, last year at a sod-turning ceremony for the rice treatment plant. Now, this morning, I want to chat with the president of the Chaguanas Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Mr. Richie Sookai, as we get into how we can reduce our food import bill. Of course, that's a hot topic these days, is everything going up internationally, so everything going up locally as well. Good morning, Richie. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning to all your viewers. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, so where do we start? Our food import bill, we've heard over the years, it's too high, we need to get it down, we need to reduce it. But then we find challenges when it comes to being able to do the levels of agriculture and processing, and we still need to import things for manufacturing purposes, etc., etc., etc. How do we begin to reduce our food import bill?
Well, one thing is for sure is that we have to become more self-sustainable here in Trinidad and Tobago. And looking at the agro-processing agriculture sector is one of the initiatives and the direction the government and actually the world is looking at. Recently there was an agro expo in Guyana, and they were focusing on how they were making themselves more sustainable so that they could help reduce their food import bill. And with both countries basically sharing technology and sharing proximity in terms of geographic location and climate and stuff, we could help one another by sharing that technology, that content to help boost our local products in both nations, to help even the entire Caribbean region by extension. But more so if we look at flour and what's going on and what we can start doing locally, right? I mean, there's a lot of suggestions of looking at alternative. So you have like the cassava flour that has been...
Yeah, but we already established those things don't necessarily make sense immediately.
It's not sustainable as of right now. However, our palate is a lot different. And if you look at even in Venezuela, the arepa flour that they use, which is pretty healthy, obviously.
Isn't it cornmeal flour?
Exactly, cornmeal flour. And we still have an appetite for more traditional flour. So maybe one suggestion, again, if you look at the zero-rated list, the products of flour are on there. Like for instance, there's roti skin, there's biscuits, Crick's biscuits, there's a couple other items that are zero-rated that are produced from the flour.
From the flour. Just to be clear, for people who may not know, the zero-rated list is those items that are tax-free.
Correct.
So we don't pay taxes on certain items, right? Because they're on the zero-rated list. And you're saying that some of those items include biscuits, roti skin, things that are made from flour, but flour is not on the actual list.
It's not on the actual list, and maybe it's time we look at, including flour on the zero-rated list. And I believe it is possible, at least for now, so that you could help buffer the cost of of the flour, the rice.
How much impact do you think that would have?
It will look, if you look significantly at the data in terms of world prices, in terms of per kg for flour, right? The country, I think Belarus is the lowest right now at 50 cents per kg, and then the highest would be Monaco at $3 per kg. We fall somewhere, and the US right now is up, I believe, again, from the last data I read, was $1.31 per kg. So we fall like about, after the conversion, let's say $1.41 per kg. So we're just like 10 cents off from the US considering the...
So that means that we technically on the world stage, we kind of
almost there
average.
Compared to average. Yeah, exactly. On the average is $1.24 right, per kg. So we're just like what, 20 cents?
And this is the cost of flour?
This is the cost of flour worldwide I'm talking about, right? So if you look, and per kg. So if you look at maybe adjusting and like slight adjustment to the putting the flour on zero-rated list in terms of VAT, you will then, you may come down to the average cost worldwide, which is reasonable.
But what, I mean, let me look at people going to the grocery on a daily basis or on a monthly basis, right? And you see a bag of flour, let me say it's $12, right? If we take off the VAT off of that, how much would it come down to?
You work out your VAT now, then the flour going to go up to what, $19 now, almost $19, 18 something, right? So you minus your I believe your
12.5%
VAT from it, and you should.
It probably looks like $1, so it probably be like down.
Exactly. So, but again, it is a saving.
Of course.
Because if your flour is a staple in your diet, and also the frequency at which you're buying, it also adds to the cost. Another initiative like for instance, what the United States is doing. And again, the reason why I'm focused there is most markets are a lot similar to one another. President Biden actually suggested about reducing the taxes on gas, right? So it'll be give it 18 to 20%, 20 cents, sorry, reduction in the gas bill. However, you might think it's minuscule, but it is a grand scale thing. It will add up, right? We recently increased our gas price. Maybe, again, as a suggestion to help buffer costs and the rising costs worldwide, right? To maybe look at least for now, rolling back some of the cost of gas, so to help with transportation costs. Internationally, we have no control on the importation cost. We can't control it again, but obviously locally we can start adjusting some of the costs so to make it more, let's say, a lot more viable for the population to survive.
No, I mean, let's speak from, I was going to play devil's advocate here, right? Sure. Let's come from the government's perspective of, we're still kind of in a pandemic, right? Well, we're in an endemic now. And, you know, we had all these job losses where we had to but we had to make sure and take care of the nation, right? So we give people grants and subventions, and we give out money to businesses, to individuals. We see a reduction in how much people are employed, so therefore taxing is going to come in a bit lower than it was pre-pandemic.
Correct.
Right? We see international prices going up and everything across the board. Every time you go in the grocery, like we were just talking about it in that last interview, every time you go in the grocery, it feels like you had to spend more money. My salary not going up, right? But how does the government now, in their position, how do they reduce costs, still have the expenditure, but the income is not improving?
Well, one thing they could, again, you look at it on a grand scale, right? And we understand that, listen, there is a cost offset that we have to buffer, right? Maybe look at revisiting the minimum wage salary, right? I can't remember when last I think that was adjusted. I think it was in if I'm not mistaken, 2015 or 16 or something like that. There was an adjustment, and maybe
up to 17.
Something like that, right? And again, it's about time they revisit it
and raise it or drop it.
No, actually revisit it and see whether or not to raise the minimum level of salary, right? So that now. The business owner themselves have been suffering too at the same time, because a lot of them have been closed, especially restaurant and entertainment industry have been taking a serious hit, right? And when you compound actual prices upon prices, when you ask yourself, okay, yes, the government had all these issues to deal with in terms of buffering. How much, if you look at like countries like the United States and many other countries where they printed money to give buffer the economy, right? We didn't do that in our thing because our financial structure is a lot different.
Yeah, so we dip into our Heritage and Civilization Fund.
To support all. However, now you have higher prices of oil and gas. We would be offsetting some of the costs that we have had before, right? So maybe some of that, again, we should walk the fine line. I'm sure the Minister of Finance will be revisiting some of these initiatives, but I believe as of right now as a country, for to help at least the ones that are unfortunate and that needs the help at a time like this, to help the increase in food prices, maybe look at putting flour, as I suggested, on the zero-rated list. It will definitely, again, save. If you save $1 one way, you save $1.
Every dollar you save counts in this time, yes? Well, Richie, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. And of course, I think that is a great way to start. Maybe getting flour on the zero-rated list is a good way to start the conversation and the process to getting the place to be a little bit lighter, a little bit better.
It's about time.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the president of the Chaguanas Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Mr. Richie Sookai. Thank you again for joining us. And we take a quick break and come back with more in our morning show. Stay tuned.